For those of us who care about climate change, you want to start with energy because your home will use more energy over its life than are embodied in the material. So the number
Mm-hmm.
one most important place to get right is energy use.
Welcome to Home Green Homes. I am your host, Izumi Tanaka, and today's episode is a very special one. This is the 100th episode of my podcast, and it also marks the relaunch of Home Green Homes, a show about how we live, how we build, and how our homes can be a part of a more sustainable and resilient future. My guest today is Steve Glenn, the founder and CEO of Plant Prefab. But Steve also is someone who played a quiet yet pivotal role in my life. More than a decade ago, when I was an architectural photographer, Plant Prefab, then LivingHomes, was one of my first clients. And over time, I became more and more interested in sustainable building practice. Steve encouraged me to get involved with U.S. Green Belt Council, California. Back then it was USGBC LA. With his encouragement, I started to volunteer with now USGBC California. This last December, I was honored to receive an award from USGBC California called the Heart of the Golden State. So I welcome Steve today as my tribute to my journey. Here's my conversation with Steve. Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for your time today. I am so honored to have you.
It's great to be here. Great to see
Thank you.
It's on your recent award.
Thank you so much, and congratulations for you to have been named as Top Impact CEO.
Well, one of 100.
Yes. Well, I think in my mind, you're still on the top. So let's start the conversation. I know that you've been in the entrepreneurial space for a long time, and you started LivingHomes back in 2006. And I'm just curious to know what prompted you to create that company, LivingHomes, which is the first iteration of your company, and why was it important for you to make it sustainably built products?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the first iteration of Plant. It was a separate company, actually, but we can get
Okay.
to
Oh,
that.
it's separate.
A separate company. Yeah. Plant later bought, well, LivingHomes spun out Plant. We can talk about that
I
if you
see.
care. And Plant bought LivingHomes later, years
I
later.
see.
So growing up as a kid, I wanted to be an architect. I had, Legos and books on Frank Lloyd Wright, and I would make buildings and draw and buildings, and I was fascinated about cities. And when I got to college, I got into technology, which was kind of my first career before I got into real estate. But I still, in college, thought I might go into design. So I did a summer design program, and I learned there that I really had neither the talent or temperament to be an architect. Like, kind of had enough self-awareness to realize I'd be a mediocre architect, and I had too much respect for the profession and the products. But I learned about real estate developers, and one in particular, a guy named Jim Rouse, who became my first kind of role model, but by example. I never met him. And he helped me to appreciate a couple of things. First, that they're the only, developers, probably the best example, who are really more responsible nature of the built environment because they set the agenda. They hire architects, let them do great things or not. And then the other thing is he was an entrepreneur to whom I was exposed. I was in school in the mid to late 80s. There were many great social entrepreneurs out there doing Yvonne Shinhart of Patagonia and uh, Jim Rouse, but that wasn't a term of art popular thing yet. I, like Rouse, kind of felt a responsibility to try to add value to the planet through the work I was doing. And he helped me to appreciate that business people could do that there are businesses that wedded profit and purpose. So I said, someday I want to. So that was the background. Um, Decades later, with technology and some other work, felt like it was time to get into real estate. And my thesis for business came very quickly. I concluded that there was a large and growing number of people who, like me, value design, health, and sustainability. So, back then we were just shopping at Whole Foods and buying from Patagonia and using Apple products, Dwell, and as we just alluded to, there were lots of companies that created products in a way that reflected the value we placed on good form of functionality, health, and sustainability. The production home builders and our multi-centex of the world we're really building for us. So, our strategy at the time, get great world-class architects, begin with great capital and platinum level investment program and use outsourced factory production to more efficiently build our homes.
Yeah.
So um, that's how we got started.
Yeah. And 20 years later, today there are so many prefab companies out there. And I know that Plant Prefab really positions itself to be quite unique, standing out from other prefab companies. What was that prompted you to go from LivingHomes and acquiring LivingHomes and Plant Prefab? And can you talk about what makes your company unique compared to some other prefab companies out there?
Yeah. Well, LivingHomes, one of the decisions we made early on was not to own our own factories. My first job out of college was Apple. Apple make, any of these. They outsource that. And because manufacturing is a different business.
Right.
Factories always want to stay full, but if you're in design or development, there's cycles to your work. So we worked with started LivingHomes a year before the worst real estate downturn since the Great Depression. Obviously, I didn't know that was going to come. But the one then really literally only advantage of it was that the factories to whom we outsourced our work weren't busy, so they took our projects. But we were working with people who did mobile homes or schools, and it was just very different work. Uh, as you know, I live in the first home we designed. We work with Ray Cappy. It's first on Ruby certified LEED Platinum. And we worked with a company 45 minutes away from here that did schools, steel frame schools. It was just, so we were fighting gravity the whole time. And in our first 10 years, we worked with 10 different homes. And post downturn, we got really busy. And we were like, there's got to be a better way. And as we thought about it, we kind of concluded, hey, if there was a new company, it was set up not to do standard low cost, non-sustainable homes. That's kind of the existing guys, but rather customized, really sustainable, high quality homes, architectural homes, work with any architect. Not only could we solve our needs, but more importantly, we could solve the needs of potentially hundreds of thousands of individuals and developers and nonprofits who need a better way to do their architectural projects. So we spun out Plant Prefab, and initially I ran both companies. It became clear it was be better if we were ones. A couple of years later, Plant bought LivingHomes, but that's how it started. And we opened one facility in Rialto, California, got full. Second in Ontario, got full, and then we made plans for our first mega factory built for us. The others were existing factories, and we opened that up a couple of years ago in Arbor, California, which is about an hour north of Los Angeles. And so what's unique about us, number one, most prefab companies have a catalog of standardized homes. We do, but mostly don't. We work with a so we're focused on customized projects. Two, we're the only factory in the U.S. purpose-built to do both panels and modules, major systems. Other companies do one or the other. We both, because it turns out it gives us a better solution for doing the projects we do. Sometimes they're all panels, sometimes they're all mods, sometimes they're both. And then Third, we more focused on sustainability. We're a mission-driven company. We're certified. We're Benefit Corp. Than many. So that also is pretty unique about us. And I
Yeah.
guess we our factory is literally the only automated high volume um, prefab factory west of Mississippi that also does single family home projects. So we're very involved, for example, with rebuild projects because the majority we're single family homes.
Yes, I first of all, I forgot to mention that you're the one who encouraged me to get involved with USGBC LA at the time. And one of the first thing I did with them was to go to the fire victims where we had the workshop where we helped homeowners to talk to people like yourself. And so I saw that you were always there to try to help the fire victims and to rebuild. And how has it been for you since that was Woolsey Fire or Thomas Fire back in 2016? How have people been responding to this concept of what you're doing as Plant Prefab?
Well, we actually started working with people in the Tubbs fires after Napa, and then Woolsey. So we've done a bunch of fire rebuild projects, and
Right.
we're doing a huge number now in Malibu, Pacific Palisades, Altadena, and you know, people are looking for a time and cost efficient way to get back to their homes and communities. We can absolutely build way faster than a traditional process, more reliably, meaning like you can count on schedule and budget as opposed to, change orders and schedule delays. We build in parallel to the site work. It's a controlled facility. We have automation.
Mm-hmm.
It's very precise, precision built.
Right.
Um, and then it can be cost effective. It's always on a project basis,
Mm,
factoring time, cost, money, and rents or else. But sometimes even on a per square foot basis, it's not that shouldn't be your only measurement, like price per square foot. You should also understand, well, what's the value of time? If I save
right.
time, carrying costs for construction loans, rent somewhere else, monthly mobilization fee for the GC, all of that, the degree you can save that needs to be part of the calculations too.
Sure. So do you work mostly with architects or builders, or do homeowners directly contact you to discuss the possibility of rebuilding their homes through plant prefab?
All the above.
All of the
Yeah,
above.
we hear from homeowners directly. We hear from architects. We hear from GCs, developers. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all the. I mean, our
Mm-hmm.
contracts are either with a GC who buys components or like a master sub,
I
or with the
see.
homeowner directly. But we don't do the site work.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
homeowner has to have a general
I
contractor too.
see. I see. So over the years, do you still come across any kind of myth or misunderstanding about pre pre prefabricated homes? Do you feel any resistance from the market?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Some
What
people.
what are the what are the what are the myth busters that you can share with us?
Well, some people think we're doing mobile homes.
Hmm.
We're not. That's a specific kind of category
Right.
designated by the government. You can't permanently attach your home to the foundation. They tend to be lower cost. We don't do that.
Hmm.
Legally, our homes are the same as a site-built home. They can't be
Right.
excluded for zoning. They can't be excluded for finance, for insurance. So those are some myths. People are like, oh, my bank said they won't finance. Nope, they have to. It's just a site-built home. Oh, my
Right.
insurance doesn't cover. Nope. But those guys get confused and think you're talking mobile homes.
Right.
And there are restrictions, but we're
Right.
not doing that. Legally,
Right.
we're the same as a site build. And then, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to get a Frank Lloyd Wright at a mobile home cost. Well, no, I mean, half your cost of materials. Mobile homes are cheap materials. You
Right.
can't get an architectural home with cheap materials. Like
Right.
that doesn't work.
Right.
And the details are more complicated, require more labor. So, it can be very cost effective versus doing it on site, but
Right.
you can we use high quality materials and craftsmanship, and so if you want a nice home, they're more expensive.
Yeah. So, what can you tell homeowners or builders or maybe some young professionals listening about your vision of what the home should look like and adapt to the environmental challenges and climate conditions that we're facing?
Well, when you say vision of what it should look like, if you mean that directly, I have no comment on that. That's, it should look like what you want it to look like, or the
Mm-hmm.
with whom you're working. But in terms of how it's built, for those of us who care about climate change, you want to start with energy, because your home will use more energy over its
Mm-hmm.
life than are embodied in the material. So the number
Mm-hmm.
one most important place to get right is energy use. And there are two parts to that. You want to make it as energy efficient to reduce the energy you need. We can talk about what that looks like, but I'm just speaking conceptually. And then you should use solar. There's some other things, but solar is the main one to
Mm-hmm.
create your energy in a renewable way. On water, you want to reduce your water use as much as possible
Right.
and at least reclaim what you can for irrigation. On the material side, it's good to think about, are the materials recycled, or at least recyclable? Um, Health issues sometimes are included in sustainability. It's really
Yeah.
an issue, but there are a lot of compounds that can off gas into homes,
Right.
indoor air quality. That's worth thinking about too.
Right. Yeah. But on a personal level, Steve, what are you most proud of that you have accomplished? Obviously, you've created this company and it's a B Corp, and everything you're doing I really admire. But on the personal level, like, are you doing something very, I don't know, maybe something that you do on a daily basis that you think you are helping this world, like with the environmental issues, climate issues?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I got into this because I love architecture.
Mm-hmm.
We got the honor of working with, incredible architects, and like Ray Cappy and Kieran Timberlake and Brooks Scarpa and Toby Long and Scott Prentice and Emrad and Loha and we've been able to build their homes, I think, more efficiently than a traditional process. So I think, and more responsibly with respect to,
Right.
um, uh, you know, their ecological footprint. And so I feel great about that. I think architecture, design is incredibly important for society. I don't mean that in a flip way. I think, good design makes you happy. I know there's research that makes you more productive, you heal
Mm-hmm.
better, faster if you're in a hospital.
Yeah.
So design matters. And then from an environmental standpoint, I mean, there's no, if you look at all buildings as a category versus all transport versus all manufacturing, buildings use more responsible for more carbon emissions than those other categories. So again, for those of us who care about climate change, you gotta make buildings that operate more responsibly if we're gonna um, reduce um, the negative impacts of climate change. So
Yeah.
I think we've done that. So I feel good about that too.
Yeah. How about challenges that you find in your daily life that maybe frustrate you or have a hard time? Is there any challenges in your life that you find difficult in to live the way that we really want to live?
Well, I found it challenging that there isn't an effective way to grow hair for your head. I mean, sure, it's hard running a small company. Interest rates have majorly impacted
Mm-hmm.
the construction industry. We opened this massive factory that has big rent payment every month and
Mm-hmm.
insurance. We've got to have a lot of work to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very busy. We had the best month we've ever had in December. Uh, but still, it's been, hard to get here.
Mm-hmm.
We've had to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
It's been hard the last few years to raise money. Scaling, I mean, I said we should have our best year, and last month was the best month we've ever had. But scaling also is hard. There are
Right.
always break, new challenges come up. I mean, those are better challenges than are we going to meet payroll next month, but challenges nonetheless. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's not easy stuff. That's why, you know, entrepreneurship's like it sounds glamorous, you know, not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. So what is your sort of like a vision plan moving forward for Plant Prefab as well as for yourself on the personal level?
Well, I mean, the plan we want to be able to do a lot more work, and
Mm-hmm.
we think we do good work, so that helps to spread the good stuff we're doing.
Sure.
That's what
Yes.
the purpose. We believe there's a national demand for what we do, so more factories to serve more parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
With greater volume, we can be even more cost competitive. So it's
Right.
a virtuous cycle.
Right.
By being more cost competitive, we can make it easier and more efficient to build great architecture, which is our
Right.
goal. And on the personal front, I mean, try to be a responsible team member and leader, and be able to love my friends and family as much as possible, because that's the most important step in life, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So how can people find you or Plant Prefab? I could put on the show note.
Yeah, plantprefab.com.
Plantprefab.com.
Yeah, well, I'm Steve at plantprefab.com. I'm happy to connect with anybody. If you're an architect and you have plans, even if they're designed for site built, we're happy to review them.
Right.
Happy to some thoughts on whether we could do prefab. And by the way, if the project wants to be modular, or that's the most efficient way to do it, they have to be designed and engineered for modules. But if it's panels, like wall panel, floor panel, roof panel, we use your same design and engineering. So if you're 100% CVs, like we can work without the panels only. But if you're at a schematic stage, well, now we can talk about, right, does it make sense to do some or all modules? Same with a developer or an individual. If you
Mm-hmm.
just look at them, we'll give you your comments. We'll give you comments.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Steve. It's so inspiring, as always, to talk to you. Uh, I would like to keep in touch, and I would like to obviously help promote your company and your services.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for the support you give us, and the greater community. Great to speak to you.
Yeah, and thank you again for encouraging me to get involved. Like I said, you really played an instrumental role for my journey, so I really appreciate that. Thank you for listening to Home Green Homes. If you found this episode useful, please subscribe and leave a review, or share it with someone who cares about better homes and better future. I am Izumi Tanaka, and until next time, here's to creating homes that are healthier, more resilient, and truly future ready.